Welcome to That Comic Smell podcast. With your hosts,
David Robertson,
Mike Sadakat,
and Tom Stewart.
Hey there folks, this is Tom from That Comic Smell podcast. Just want to mention a couple of things at the top of the podcast before we get started. First of all, there is a brilliant Kickstarter going on at the minute for a Halloween themed horror comic called Final Halloween. It's written and co-created by Mike Garley of Samurai Slasher and The Kill Screen, and artist Michael Lee Graham. Shortlist magazine Dead Roots, with letters and logo designed by Mike Stock of Image Comics. Final Halloween is 5 kids wake up in an abandoned house. They don't know why they're there, how they got there, or whose blood they're covered in. Covered in blood, disorientated, and with no short-term memory, these 5 kids will need to work together to solve the mysteries of this hellish house, or this will be their final Halloween. It looks absolutely fantastic. When it says that they're covered in blood, oh damn, they're covered in blood. It's really gory. It's kind of like it looks like a kind of more supernatural slasher sort of thing. Some nice dialogue in amongst it as well. Really good premise, really interested in this one. Give it a look. It's really quite close to hitting its goal as well. At this moment in time, there's about 17 days to go. So just give it a check out. That is Our Final Halloween on Kickstarter. Also, Edinburgh Comic Art Festival is coming back for their winter section. It's free entry as usual. Sunday the 25th of November 2018, and that will be from 11 AM to 4 PM. There'll be comics workshops and comic market as well. That's at 36 Dalmeny Street in Edinburgh. Also, earlier on in November, on the 3rd of November, 10 till 4, in Dundee, if you come here, there will be Dundee Zine Fest will be on. Really looking forward to that, considering it's in our hometown, and it's a good chance for a lot of creators to showcase all their zines and little comics and whatnot as well. Really excited for that. So if you can manage to get to Dundee on Saturday the 3rd of November, come down and have a wee route about. We should be walking about as well. I think I'm going there with David. Hopefully the rest of That Comic Smell will be able to make it down and have a wander about the floor. So come and say hello if you recognise our voices from anywhere. Also just want to give a big shout out to everyone that will be going to the Lakes Festival this weekend. A shout out to all the creators that are going to be going along to the Lakes Festival. Hope you have a great time, and everybody else that's going along to see them as well. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. There's a lot going on. Kendall basically just becomes a host to all comics action that is going on, so should be fun. Hopefully we'll make it next year to come and see everybody. As you know, we've had the Lakes Comics Art Festival podcast playing their little advertisement at the start of the show for the past couple of weeks. It'll be exactly the same this week as well. Those guys are fantastic. Nikki, Ian, Pete and Mike are fantastic. They run an absolutely brilliant podcast, and the Comic Art Festival are lucky to have them promoting for them as well. Just want to give a quick shout out as well to John Tucker, who sent in some comics to myself the other day, but obviously they get put on the shelves at That Comic Smell HQ, and it came with a personalised sketch of what I had said to him to just interpret That Comic Smell. Have a look on our Instagram at the picture, because John is fantastic. What an amazing illustrator, what an amazing comic artist. Those stories were hilarious. They were so well contained, just these little books that you can just smash through so quick, but they were just so funny and so poignant, and some of them pretty dark as well. Really good. Well worth it. John's got a lot of stuff up at the minute. I think he's still doing them as like a pack. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, a personal sketch, 2 stickers and 2 badges. Like next to absolutely nothing. I think it was like £10 or something for that, which is just unbelievable. Okay, so as previously mentioned, here is a little snippet for another amazing comics podcast for you to listen to.
Welcome from the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
And our podcast is all about, surprise, surprise, comics.
We interview big and upcoming names from the comic world.
We also review the latest in comics, graphic novels, and comic-based films.
We also chat about what we've seen, what we've enjoyed, and what we're playing in our pop culture section.
So listen to us, you'd be mad not to, at comicartpodcast.uk.
Or on all your usual podcast players.
And find us on Twitter at Comic Art Fest Pod.
Hope you enjoyed that. Nip across to the Comic Art Festival podcast for more. Nikki, Ian, Pete and Mike run an absolutely fantastic podcast. It's informative, funny and has some great interviews as well. Like, share and subscribe and rate and review their podcast. Okay folks, now on with the regular show.
Is this chocolate?
Yep.
Oh, brilliant.
Chocolate chip.
So you reckon we're going to eat these?
Yeah.
Good. That's nice, they're moreish. They eat half the bag stuff in 3 minutes.
It's just salt.
Then
Just keeps you going.
That's right. Do you like these? Are these a favourite?
Party rounds.
Yeah.
I like party rounds.
I don't think I've seen them for years before I started seeing them here again.
Really?
Yeah, they're like from some dim and distant memory for me. Remember that programme Arena? The
No.
arts and all that? It's been going for years. I think they still do one every now and then on the BBC.
Oh.
But they did one that was like their comics one, and it's from about 1980. They repeated it on BBC 4 a few years ago, and I watched it. And it ends, well, there's a guy now and he's like, oh, Superman, the neck like everything's Superman. And at that point, it was Superman's, what would it have been, 40th anniversary or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big birthday party, and it was like Superman birthday cake. And then this guy took it out and he had it in his fridge, and it was like, he was keeping it as like a Superman memorabilia, you know, this bit of cake that was in his fridge.
And it was mouldy as fuck.
Well,
Maybe he brushed it off, you know. I'm trying to remember if it was already like, you know, a year or 2 old, or if it was just him saying, I'm keeping this, you know, it made me think. Wow.
Yeah, and it's sitting in the freezer.
There's always that thing about food. What do you do with food, you know, as a collector? Like, you know, you buy comics and you would get a free sweetie on the front. No. We'll start on our comics.
yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get to it in, as they say. My first one is Rumble Strip,
Ooh.
Woodrow Phoenix.
Okay.
Now, when you solicited this 2 books, it was like try and get something that's not absolute canon, top 10 comics ever.
Just your personal?
Best. Yeah, something, and you know,
That's nice,
something
right then.
that you would personally recommend to
so,
someone.
so when I started thinking about it, you know, it turns out everything, you know, most things have got a wee following somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to say, oh, blah, 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 and then all the fans are like, oh, of course. You know, because if it's got no following, you know, well, you've not heard of it.
Yeah. I get your point, yeah.
So there's going to be a load of people, Rumble Strip, oh, you know, everybody knows that, you know. But hey, I picked it because I like it.
I like the cover. I've never heard of it.
It looks like an actual novel rather than the graphic novel.
It's actually such a unique comic.
What's his name? Woodrow.
Woodrow Phoenix.
Woodrow. Yeah.
And this is all about cars, driving cars, and what it means for society, And what it means is for a person to be driving a car, and it is so fascinating. Do you know what? I'll read the little the blurb on the back to capture you. Is when you are driving a car, killing other people is not murder or even manslaughter. It's misfortune. So that's the wee thing to grab you. Are you going to go with this or not? So it's really a series of almost like diagrams. A lot of them really from the point of view of a driver, I suppose, but not all of them. So it's got this little analogy of a grand piano, somebody hanging that over the street, you know, and they're being careful with it and all that, but then it drops and kills somebody, you know. And it's like, imagine if you did that, the stink. Okay, then bam, cars, you know, running around. But there's so much. That's a really dramatic way to get you into it.
Yeah.
But then once you get into it, it's more subtle. It's all the ideas of, you know, there's sentences in this that have stuck with me ever since. This is about 10 years old now.
Naturalistic.
2008, this came out. I should have marked it, but there's like one bit that always sticks with me, and I think about it all the time. It's about it's something like people in their car, what they want in their car is to be able to go as fast as they want all the time, and they don't want anybody getting in their way, and if they do, they're immediately furious that somebody's in their way, you know, and they want to. This is what I took from it, really, and this is what I think it's about. It's the mindset of driving, and how it's all of a sudden it's like you've got a car so you can get there as fast as you can, right? So let's go. So you're in the car and you're off, but look, somebody's in your way, and you know, somebody's even did something you didn't like, and you're furious about it. You know, somebody's driving at 30, you know, in the 30 zone. I mean, it's just infuriating, right? It drives you mental to distract you. And you write something like they want maximum facility and speed at all times, and if they didn't get that, then it's just so. And what he then goes into is something along the lines of, so in order to get that, what you do is buy bigger and more expensive and faster cars, because then that should ensure that you get this all the more. And if you don't, oh my God, you know, it's even worse now. And it's like cheaper cars, they better get out of your way. And you know, I'm not doing it justice the way I'm describing it, but this is what I took from it and what I enjoyed about it. That feeling of entitlement, you know. I think with me as well, I mean I grew up in a house where my mum and dad didn't have a car. Right. So we walked everywhere or got a bus sometimes. That was it. So then I was like well into being an adult when I thought, you know, it could be handy. I'll learn to drive. So I did that much later on. And so I'm often driving about thinking about crazy things that people do and how odd it is. It still seems really odd to me. The one I like, right, I'm going to try and... this happens all the time. You know, what I find is people drive all the time. I've stopped speaking about the book, but people drive all the time as fast as they can. So they're getting up to a roundabout. So what you've got to do is drive up to that roundabout as fast as you can until you get to that roundabout, and then hit the brakes, right? And then you've got to look. So what happens with me, I don't do that. I'll drive along and think, well, there's that roundabout, and I'll sort of slow down coming up to the roundabout. And so what I always notice, and it's never stopped, is the person behind me gets furious, right? Well, maybe I'm imagining they're getting furious, but they'll be behind me, I'm slowing down, coming up to this roundabout, they go, oh fuck, what, right? And like, overtake me, boom, up towards the roundabout. But as I'm slowing up going, I'm looking, you know, to see, and I'm like, okay, there's nothing coming. Meanwhile, this person is like, hit the brakes. They hit the brakes and I go past them. You know, and at first I thought maybe I imagined it, but then they're so furious. And then by the time I go around the roundabout and go to the other side, they cannot wait to get past that roundabout, get right past me again for being a cheeky bastard, for doing that. And then there's certain, you'll know in Dundee, going up to Arbroath of that, this can happen like 3 or 4 times in a row. And it really does happen. And I used to work up there, So it was like a daily thing. People go nuts because of that. So I think what this book, what I really like about it is it's a whole book dedicated to something which is really against the grain of what we're told all the time about cars. You know, they're great. You know, you get like freedom. Like a car is freedom, right? And it's like, what? I remember saying, I go to work in my car.
That's not freedom.
That's what I do. I work up there, so I drive, you know. So, but then this is a good bit. Look, you get sort of, and because it's all, you never actually see them in this book. It's all like diagrams,
Like roads.
yeah. So then you'll get to this bit, pedestrians, and then he's talking about pedestrians. And you know, once he's talked about how you are with other people driving, well, pedestrians, they barely even exist. You know, he's like, drivers get frustrated when pedestrians fail to behave with appropriate gratitude and deference for being allowed to walk on the street. You know? Pedestrians should not dawdle. Pedestrians should cross streets as quickly as possible. Hurry up, run. Well, it's for their own safety. Pedestrians shouldn't push their luck. They should stay out of the way. It's engaging. The book, you're like, oh, you know, and you're reading it and you're going, I've thought like that.
Yeah.
You know, or you're thinking, other people do that.
Yeah.
It bugs me, you know. So you're relating to it in different ways. If they're too old or infirm to move quickly, they should not be selfishly holding up traffic by choosing to cross a road that cars are using. Drivers don't have all day. You know, it's kind of.
I think it's easy to put yourself in the shoes of the writer, especially since he doesn't show himself on there.
I can remember the first time I crossed the road, and then I kind of walked, and then they went before I got across, and I was like, I genuinely didn't understand what had happened, and I thought, oh, I was meant, you know, you've got to do that little skip.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to. If you didn't do that, they're annoyed at you, and that was the first time I learnt that. And driving, of course, you've got to wave. You know, like a van going in some, you know, if they wait for me, I would stop. You go past and you wave.
Yeah,
Like, thank you. And they go, right, good. And then, you know, if you don't, they're furious. I mean, if I stop and they don't wave, I'm like, where's my wave?
That's a Scottish thing though.
Is that just Scotland?
Somebody has actually commented on that before. I've seen that pop up a couple of times on Twitter, and it's always been Scottish people that have said like,
where's the wave?
So where's my wave? Shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it's there's loads of like Americans.
They're like, what?
There was somebody from South Africa who was like, you'd be lucky if you get somebody even like gives you the courtesy to cross the fucking road, let alone anything else. He says you'll get killed. You know.
It's funny how these things in different areas are.
It was somebody who had also made a joke remark, which was if you come from Scotland and you don't wave when somebody lets you go across the road, fucking kill yourself. It was just a joke, like,
but you know,
it was total satire, but it was just the fact of like, you know, that's competitive.
You know what? Here's this part, this section that always sticks with me. So it's coming right off the pedestrians, but how can you respect someone who can't drive?
Ooh, it's like a American crosswalk. There was one before, it was like a British one.
So you're getting different.
Oh, different ones, different colours.
So then cars cost so much to buy and more to use that many drivers become a little bit nutty with the expense, determined to justify their purchase. And then this is the bit that always gets me. Anything that gets in the way of this need for maximum utility at all times is the enemy. You know? So I love this book, and I hope that it sounds and looks interesting to you.
I think I can relate to it.
It's very, and you know, I like the drawing. He's made a decision there, and I don't know if he's just got like photos. Well, he's obviously done reference stuff, but it's also still kind of sloppy. I like the way he kind of, you know, he's went over the lines. He's just left it. You know, there's some panels even in here where he's forgot to ink it. You see the pencil. There's a few, and I thought, isn't that great? Look at that. So this is I recommend this. As you were saying, what you would recommend personally.
Yes.
I love this book because it's unique as well, and it's well done, and you can tell he's smart and he's funny, and he's making good points. I mean, as it gets to the end, he tells you about him being on the road and like just a wee tiny incident, the kind of thing that happens on the road, and then he goes into it, you know, like 3 seconds off and he'd be dead.
Yeah.
And he knew that, the other person knew that, and then he gets back on, and then he goes and then he sort of looks at them, and they just sort of look back, and he's like, well, I can't speak to her. You nearly just killed me. You nearly just killed us and other people, but that's just the way it is. And then he carries on driving, you know. So, really, yeah.
I thought about that a lot. Yeah, that's good.
It's a great book. I recommend to have a read. Red Strip, Woodrow Phoenix, 2008.
I like that.
He also did, you know, the big book that was She Lives, and it was like, it's a massive like comic the size of this table.
I saw it. That was on that event. It was a few years ago.
Yeah, he brought it to Dundee.
Yeah, I had a wee chat with him when he was. Is that him?
Woodrow Phoenix, yeah.
Ah, I see. So he is British.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know that some of the pages were set in America here, but I remember I had a chat with him. It was that huge comic.
Mm-hmm.
When I read the email, I thought it was choose 2 books that are like groundbreaking. I obviously didn't read all the email because this one isn't obscure, but
It doesn't have to be obscure, it's just your personal recommendation.
yeah, if someone came up to me and said, I wouldn't mind reading a comic, can you recommend me this book? And I would recommend this one. You've all probably read it and watched it, but the reason I pull this one out now is because much of the story was never portrayed in the film. The thing is, on the film, it focuses around these guys, you know, and as soon as you think about the Watchmen, you think, right, Rorschach's a comedian, Miss Jupiter, Dr. Manhattan and all that. Nah, forget it. It's like the psychiatrist. Or the wee boy that hangs around the newsagents.
Yeah.
And they have a wee chat with each other, and they just talk about normal stuff. There's the guy that hangs around the corner, comes up to the newsagent, and then the psychiatrist, he's walking down the road and he sees shadows. Someone's like spray painted a couple in there, and he's suddenly reminded of like silhouettes of people burned in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
All these little bits. Like, there he is, the newsagent and the wee boy. They were such a big bit of this story, and all they got was a tiny wee glimpse.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist, you didn't see anything about him.
That was before they were wiped out in the film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A wee glimpse of them.
Yeah, the psychiatrist. There's some fascinating bits where he gets to interview Rorschachs, and there he is. You see him briefly in the film, but what the film doesn't show is him going about his normal everyday business.
They kind of villainise him in the film.
Yeah, but there they sort of keep him as a normal person. He goes back to his wife and he has like a nice family. Well, not a family. He has a nice social life with her. He walks about the street. He sees goodness in everyone. So he sees like people. He might give money to the beggar, or he might buy a magazine off the newsagent. Afterward, Rorschach tells him why he became Rorschach. About that harrowing story about the kidnapper, and then he's left traumatised. So he goes back to his wife, and his wife has 2 of their friends around. So there he is. He's heard the story. In this book, Rorschach actually cuts the guy up with a machete, not
Meat cleaver.
yeah, like in the film. And he actually says to the guy, oh no, it wasn't that. It was he does the meat cleaver machete on the film, but on here he handcuffs him to a pipe, and he says you can probably get out of it because he pulls the saw right next to him, but you're not going to make it out of it in time to escape the fire. And he sets the place on fire, so the guy burns to death. But here, this guy's like he's talking away, and the couple are there, and they're like they think. Kidnapped girl is a really kinky thing, and then the guy says no, actually she was 7 and she was chopped to pieces and fed to the kidnapper's dogs. At which place his wife completely falls out with him and ruins the night for the happy couple. But then towards the end, a lot of the people who were in the background, they're all including the policeman. You don't see hardly anything of the policeman and his deputy. in the film, but these two are an important part as well. And you briefly might catch a glimpse of them when Rorschach gets arrested.
What I love in here is chapter 4, Dr. Manhattan's life story. I just think that's amazing. That one issue, to me, is like one of the best comics. I actually have given that to people to read. Issue 4. I haven't read that, you know. I remember going back and they were like, I started reading that and then I got to about page 4 and I thought, no, wait a minute, I don't know what's happening here. I had to stop and then go back and start reading it again, you know. I just love the way he does time and everything in that issue, you know, and he's experiencing all these life at once.
Yeah.
And it's not the future or the past. And there's a great bit in this where his wife is like, you know, how can you be, I'm totally paraphrasing, but it's like, how can you be so uncaring and, you know, you saw this coming, blah, blah, blah. And he says something like, yeah, you know, I can see the future, you know, just like you can see the past. That doesn't mean I can change it. You know, just and I thought, man, that's so clever. That's a brain. That's somebody that can think of things that came up with a line like that. And you know, they're still sucking this thing fucking dry to keep their business going.
Like everything.
But it's definitely, I mean, as a superhero comic, it's, you know, it's really.
And one of the scenes that's not in the film is Ozymandias, who's the antagonist. He's not necessarily the biggest villain, but what he does is pretty villainous, killing 3 million people. But well, actually, yeah, I suppose I can't argue with that. But there's a scene in there in the book where he fights the comedian, and he's completely battered by the comedian. Then afterward, years after, he doesn't hold the grudge too much, but for his plan, when the comedian finds out, he's ready for him, and that's the beginning where you actually see him beating the comedian.
Yeah.
So I made a good choice then, I hope.
Yeah.
Watchmen.
Everyone's running around waving their arms and agreeing with me.
I've got a special place in my heart for that. Yeah, it was good.
When did you get Watchmen?
Book, and I've never actually owned it.
Oh, okay.
I still don't own it to this day. I'm very reticent to actually ever own it because I discovered it, like most of my books, in a library.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about owning something that I've always like snuck into a building to have a look at. I don't feel. I feel quite odd then being like, right, I've got that now. That's mine. It's not the same. It doesn't hold the same thing.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I can remember as a kid sitting going, there's something going on here. There's reading a comic and that's good, but there's something else going on. I want to have it. I want to own it. I've got to have it in my house, dead, captured. And it's like, that's a separate thing. And yeah, it's definitely...
Certain stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, there's certain stuff that I'm like, I need to have that. But there's other stuff I'm like, I think it loses its appeal if I own it. And I can just get it really available any time.
Yes. Too available.
Yeah, see,
that's good.
So, I just like collecting things.
Yeah. My first experience with it was probably around 2000, 2001. When the books in the library were 14 plus. And I was just under that age, and I had to sneak into the corner bit of the library where all the graphic novels at that point they were called were, and hide on the beanbags and sit and pick it off the shelf and have a look. And the reason that I was drawn to it was because it wasn't this cover.
No,
you remember it was the smiley face, the half smiley face.
Yeah.
And the big blood splatter.
Yeah.
Now I remember at that time, the smiley faces, the have a nice day thing was going on.
Right.
That was the big thing at that time. It was the resurgence of the 70s.
Was this kind of
yes, it was just that, but like all over. So it was just one big yellow book with that. But the have a nice day thing from the 70s was making a resurgence. In the sort of late 90s, early 2000s with posters and stuff. So I was drawn to that, and then I opened up and went, oh, this isn't anything to do with that, what's this? And then I made my way through it. Very hard to understand being a pre-teen, very hard indeed. But the sheer visuals of it were
Yeah.
so incredible that I was just drawn. I mean, his look in
was
general
so
was
good.
just fantastic.
There's some
And,
nice,
a big blue guy going about with his cock hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, what's this?
nice concept art at the back if you've not seen it.
It's yeah. So I hold a special place for that because that was one of my very first ones that I ever kind of discovered. And felt like at the time, because stuff like that wasn't readily available, I felt like, well, this is, nobody knows about this.
Yeah.
This is mine, you know.
You discovered it.
Yeah.
Yourself.
And then it was a long time since I'd read it in the library that the film then came out. The film then came out about 8 or 9 years later or something.
Yeah.
So that was that was just that thing that I read when I was younger. And, you know, I hadn't been back to the library in a long time since. I kind of snuck in and out periodically throughout my teen years growing up and reading through it. But it came out of the cinema and I went to go see it. And at the time, from what I saw from the film, I thought it was a good adaptation.
Yeah.
Because I'd forgotten a lot of the story and the kind of cliff notes was what the film was. So I thought, this is bang on, this is great.
Yeah.
And I was really into the Snyder kind of 300 and all this kind of stuff. His visual style and stuff that he was doing, I loved it. And I used to sit like, this is amazing. I was really drawn into it, and all the costumes and stuff were really good. They were really nicely designed and looked like what they did in the book and stuff like that. And even the kind of redesigns they've done on a couple of the outfits and stuff were great. And Dr. Manhattan looked really good to me. What's his name?
Night Owl.
Billy Crudup. Yeah. He was great. He was fantastic. And one of my favourite parts of that film is him telling his story of how he ended up Dr. Manhattan. That whole bit, because it kind of just cuts out a whole section for just that.
I have the soundtrack for that.
Yeah, well,
That's a theme.
the thing about the Watchmen film.
It just reminded me of watching that, and as it was going along, I was like, it was on, and I was doing it, and I remember stopping to go, they're ready to turn that forward, and it was like, you know, clenched buttocks, you know. But I remember it came and went, and I thought it was all right, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, probably as films go, it's probably better than most films. I mean, probably a lot of people have found the book from liking that film.
Well,
That's like me,
that was of the time where if the film happened, the books were pumped into shops and I mean everywhere. You had good Tesco and get that.
Yeah.
At the time when that film came out. It was fucking unbelievable. I couldn't believe that I had just been to see this thing in the cinema and was able to pop down the shops and it was there.
Brilliant, yeah.
It was unbelievable. See now.
It's always like that.
Yeah, see now, not a fucking chance. You go and see like Avengers or something, you come out of the cinema, the most you'll find is a fucking Spider-Man colouring book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just unreal. And it was that thing as well, it was like, oh, my secret's been revealed, you know. But everybody's getting to enjoy it now. This is great, they'll finally see. And then it got like fucking slated by loads of people as well. And it's sort of like, I don't understand. I feel like I've got a really intimate relationship with this that a lot of people don't have. So I try to keep it very personal. And this is probably one of the very few times I'll speak about it in this way. So I keep it all very personal. And I love the film, I love the way it looked and everything, I love the book. But that sticks very close to me. And I do kind of take it quite badly when people speak ill of it. But at the same point, I do understand people's gripes with it in the same sitting. You know, I still look at the material that's in the book and then look at the film and go, well, that's not really the same.
No.
I do understand that because there's plenty of books that I've read and we've all read where we've then saw the film and been like, oh fucking hell, you know what I mean? Like, this is awful. But then somebody's loved the film and you've been like, oh come on, hey. So I understand, but at the same point,
do you know, it's just such a bigger medium, cinema, as you know.
Yes.
And I remember Rufus Daigle, that artist, and he was drawing Tank Girl at the time. And I saw him in Glasgow and he was talking to the audience and he got asked some question about I can't even remember what the question was, but I remember his answer was that most people that come in and speak to him about his Tank Girl comics are people that liked the film.
Right.
So it's still even, I mean, in the world of Tank Girl comic fans, it was like, we love Tank Girl, the film comes out, we hate that film, that's ruined it all. But then you've got 15, 20 years later, the guy drawing Tank Girl now, he's getting more people coming to him because they like that film than liked either the original comics or. So it's just a fact that the reach of the film is bigger.
Yeah.
And so it's the same with the Watchmen film. It's the same with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
I watched V for Vendetta, but I've never read it yet.
Oh,
So I'm reckoning
goodness.
that's on the same level as Watchmen.
We for Vendetta.
Yeah, I'm intending on reading it at some point.
It's been a long time since I've actually read that. I can barely remember it. I said this the last time, actually, when Nana
Right.
brought it up, was that it's been that long since I read it. It was only, the one, that way, the one read through,
Mm.
and then it's gone. Within like
Yeah.
minutes, you're sitting going, "Shit, what happened again?"
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I've just read that, I can't even remember. So yeah, but I think V for Vendetta was a case of I seen the film first,
Right.
and then went back and read the book.
I need to watch Sandman before a film of that comes out.
Oh, really? Yeah.
If there isn't already, I'm not clued
No,
up on
there's not.
Sandman.
No.
Yeah, it's funny that they're not doing Sandman.
No, they're not.
Maybe they think it's more of a niche thing for
Well, that's one that
teens
keeps
or
getting picked up and then dropped and then picked up and then dropped, and loads of people keep getting associated with it, and then it keeps disappearing. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he was tied with it for
Right.
yonks because he really wanted to do it. He's a fan,
Yeah.
and then it just disappeared. It was, he was secure. I'm doing this. I'm the one that's going to be doing it. I'm taking the fucking panel at San Diego Comic Con. I'm going to tell everybody I'm doing this. And then, he's no longer attached, and the studio that had it have given it up, and it's went somewhere else. And you're like, what the fuck is going
Do you know,
on?
if you look at that from the outside, know nothing about it, you would go, it's like one of those cool films or something.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like. So that would be the level of what it would do when it came out.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with The Crow now as well. They keep going to redo it,
Right.
as in do it like it was in the comic, not what the Brandon Lee film was like. And they're really, oh, we're going to redo this, and we're redoing it, and there's a guy who wrote a script, and he's going to direct it, and blah, 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 and then it just disappears. Jason Momoa, the guy who's playing Aquaman, he was meant to be playing,
Oh, yeah.
and then it's just disappeared again. That was actually slated. That was on a Universal. I think it was on a Universal slate, and then they just took it away, and it's gone.
You're not going to see a film version of Akira for a while, or a live action one.
No,
Leonardo DiCaprio is a big fan of the franchise, and he owns all the rights. And I believe he's in no hurry to.
To Russia.
Yeah.
Can you guess what it is from these initials?
Oh,
I bet he comes up with the same word for the two letters as I did.
so what's happening here?
Book title. Author.
One author. Donna somebody? David somebody? David B. Yeah.
It is.
Derek. My friend Dama. Come on. Brilliant.
MFB. My friend Dama.
Great choice.
Death back there. This is one that I point to for everyone and anyone for a genuinely terrifying tale that is that's true for a start, but is also not like gory or horrific or jump scary or anything. It's just frightening. Like the way he depicts this guy's story gave me nightmares. I've told you that
I
before.
remember you said, yeah.
It genuinely gave me nightmares. The way he draws him, Jeffrey Dahmer, and draws how he looks and how he acts and everything, and gives you an insight into his life, like those dark eyes and just the complete stone-faced demeanour on him is it's just unbelievable. This story from start to finish is absolutely gripping and told just with the biggest amount of detail, and to have that first-hand account of a serial killer is unbelievable, and quite a notorious serial killer as well. The only kind of gore that you get in it is these bits where he kind of pokes in about animals or whatever, you know. There's no straight up, you know, hacking of bodies or anything like that, but even that, him just sitting above that fish is just so sinister.
That one is quite intense, and it's a full page.
Yeah. Well, there's just quite a couple, like, wee bits when people are falling and that, and he's sitting laughing at them, and it's just, you can see the evil kind of maniacal look on him. But yet they're just putting it as if, like, he's kind of drawn it as well, as if, like, oh, what a fucking idiot, you know. What's he doing, fucking freak, you know. And it's just this kind of, this whole story of them in this tiny little town growing up with this guy and not really knowing that he would end up being what he was. And, you know, to them he was just this kind of weird old dude that had a drinking problem and his family was a bit fucked. But, you know, he met the president and everything, and it's just fucking mad. Like, he just used to go in the woods and he'd have all these jars with dead animals and acid and all this kind of stuff, and just working your way through it. And it's the little bit at the end that gets me. Have you read this before?
No, it's just I was pointing, there was a bit where he was sitting down on a rock, he was eating something. The posture he had is exactly the same as one that, that bit there.
Oh, he's sitting drinking.
Oh, he's drinking.
Yeah, he's drinking.
Oh, it's exactly the same posture as a picture of Slane from 2000 AD, sitting a bit like that, except he's eating his food, and Slane, although he's the hero, is a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Just like this guy, I'm presuming, or a serial killer.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer. There's a bit where he's got him, like he's doing weights. Yeah. It's just a normal thing, like doing weights, but he's even drawn his face just like intent. Like, it's all dark and intent, as if he's like, I need to get bigger, like, I need to be able to defend myself, I need to be able to do this, you know. He's depicted everything so well, like, to kind of show this guy's vulnerability, and yet show that he can be a loose cannon, but well inside his head until it just comes out. And it's just, there's a bit at the end, I don't know if you'll want to read this or not. But it's a true story anyway.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a true story. They went to school with serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer in the 70s.
Hence the fashion I'm seeing.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's a whole bit at the end, after he's committed his first murder and everything, it's kind of epilogue. And they're sort of talking about him around the table, like, oh, he's probably a serial killer by now, and blah, 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 blah. This guy, like, this guy killed people, blah, blah, blah. He went to your school, he was in your class, and he's like, what, who? He's like, oh, who do you think it was? And he just goes for, like, the first person that was a bit kind of out of the way and a bit kind of out there. He's like, no, it's not that. And he mentions him, like, straight away after it. And it's just that, like, how he's depicted himself getting that news. Like, as if, like, in his head, he's just like, I knew it. Like, I wanted to almost say it was this other guy first, because I wanted that to be the case, that we all saw it, everybody saw it, but only we really saw this coming. And that's why I made it my second choice, and that's why he's saying, like, oh my god, it was him. Like, what have you done? And he knows the extent, he doesn't even hear the full story, and he knows the extent of what's happened. It's just so gripping from start to finish, but every time I point this to somebody and show them it and show the visuals and they know the story, because Dahmer was such a notorious killer, they go, oh fuck me, I'm reading this, you know, I need to read this. I'm going to my pal, I bought it for somebody in work for their birthday. I've pointed it to various people that I've worked with over the years and whatnot. It is fucking amazing. I've only read it and discovered it in the past like 4 or 5 years. But in those 4 years, it's like number one to be picked.
Yeah.
And it put Derf's work like right on the top of my radar. When you spoke about Trashed, I had to read it.
Yeah.
And it was a toss up between that and Trashed.
Yeah.
But Trashed is a wee bit more out there that it would maybe turn some people off. It's less accessible. Whereas it's a great story,
Yeah.
and it gives you an informative thing on an informative look into like the garbage industry and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there is that weird kind of story going on with like he's flatmate and does a runner and all this kind of stuff. Like all that stuff kind of puts people on, all the language and that. Whereas this is just a straight up telling of like 1970s high school.
Yeah.
And the fact that they then ended up finding out that one of their classmates was a serial killer, and just by going through his life and kind of pointing at like, this all made up to this, you know, this guy wasn't always like this. This is what kind of made him this way. Please, it's almost like a please try and understand, you know what I mean? Like, he's a sorry soul, he's a fucking demon and a devil, but he's a sorry soul. And it's just,
yeah, I remember his bit about how he's really making the point that all the adults let him down.
yeah, that's what he said,
It's
there's
all-
one
it's
bit.
all the adults,
Yeah.
the mums and dads, the teachers, everybody.
What you're saying is really hits when you see that picture.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to have let him down there.
2 seconds, Mike, there is actually there's a page where he says that.
Yeah.
I'm often asked why I never spoke up, why I didn't try to get Dahmer help. You have to remember, this was 1976. You never narked on classmates. On a classmate, sorry. It simply wasn't done. Besides, my friends and I, we were just clueless, small town kids wrapped up in our own lives, and none of us had a hint about what was really going on in his head. A better question is, where were the damn adults? And
So-
it's just him standing alone watching the fucking jogger that he's obsessed with run past, but just that with those the white eyes and the dark silhouette in the window. But it's that thing like everybody asking like, why didn't you say anything? Why? It's like, well, they were kids, they didn't need to say anything.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have needed to say anything. The better question was, why the fuck weren't the adults around to question it?
Whose point of view is this from? Is it from his or
From
his
Derf,
friends?
the author, from Derf.
Okay.
Back there. There you go. That's my first one.
Fancy that, Mike? Fancy you reading that? Or?
Oh yeah.
It might give you, genuinely, it might give you nightmares. I was reading through it again this morning, and as I'm going through it, I'm going,
You start sweating and
I was.
getting the
It
shakes.
genuinely was getting.
Yeah.
It was on chapter
It's
2,
very
and I'm
creepy,
sitting
yeah.
going, no. But I love it. I absolutely love it.
Do you remember in that? I can remember the first time I heard of Jeffrey Dahmer. It's in that Public Enemy song. There's a line in it. He goes, "Jeffrey Dahmer enters the room without cuffs." When he's complaining about the justice system and everything. And because I remember like Jeffrey Dahmer, you know.
It was anyway.
Okay, so
Number 2.
move on. Number 2.
You guys said number 2.
My number 2 is science fiction. Late 80s.
Oh.
Strike Force Morituri.
Oh.
Now this was in 1986 in a Marvel comic, and Peter Gillis, I think, Peter B. Gillis wrote it. Let me just get it out of its protective bag. So this is We Who Are About to Die. Is the right Strike Force Morituri, first issue, December 1986. Artist Brent Anderson. He did a lot of stuff for Marvel back in the day. I don't know if he still does, but he used to do like X-Men Vix and things.
Did he do the Hulk? Because that's very similar to one of the Hulk stories I've got.
Maybe, yeah.
With the intelligent Hulk with Bruce Banner's mind.
Yeah, might have done. So the gist of this is that the Earth has been invaded by the Horde. the Horde. I should have reread this to remind myself of things, I just remember that I really liked it. And it ran for about 30 odd issues, and then there was another series after it. I'm jumping to the end here, but they did like a 5-issue series. And I remember in it said, no, we're not giving up on Strike Force Morituri. I mean, for instance, here's this 5-issue series that we are going to be going on. And of course, that was the last thing. you know, as soon as you're reading an editorial that's saying, oh, here we go, the fact that they're making that point,
Yeah,
no. It's like, we're backing you all the way. So, the Earth has been invaded by the Horde, who are horrible aliens, really nasty, and in fact they're not really sophisticated. They're like a bunch of thugs. They're like a bunch of bullies. And
Millwall fans.
as you read it, it comes out that their technology that they've got for attacking the Earth, they stole it from other people. Other aliens met them and were threatened. They killed them and stole all their stuff. And so they don't even know. They didn't build it.
Right.
So they're not like sophisticated, very clever. They're thugs, they're bullies, they're bastards, and they're sadists, they're sadistic.
Okay.
So they're scary. They've not even fully invaded and taken over the Earth. They just stay in orbit all the time and just send things, and they just take other stuff. They just want the food, the this, that, and the next thing, and they're just attacking. And so, in order to fight this, what they've done is they've created a process basically to give people superpowers, right? It's superheroes type thing again, and it's it's nonsense. It's superheroes versus aliens, right? That's what you can. That's what it is. Now, what's interesting in it is the process is very rough. There's 5% of people of humans are able to withstand it undergoing this process, and they get the first bit of the process to get super strong, and then they need that to do the second process that then gives them an individual power, and it can be any sort of power. They don't know what it is until it manifests itself. So really, I read this when it came out, and then I read it again probably in the last 10 years. And what they've done in the meantime is done that film, Starship Troopers. You've seen Starship Troopers, and it really reminded me of that film now that they've made since then, because it's a big part of this is their propaganda tools. The Strike Force Morituri, what they are, they put up these films and everything to get people to see that they're heroes, they're great, and it's this thing, the Black Watch. So he's reading the comic of the Black Watch, and this was the first. See, this is the different style of action. Yeah, it's go.
Yeah.
And this is what he's grown up reading about being in this Strike Force Morituri.
You don't think he was influenced by our Black Watch where he got the name?
Well, maybe. So that goes on, and it's all. Down human, down before my warrior's might.
Is that one of the aliens?
That's one of the aliens in this comic. And then he said, you're making a mistake, warrior, in underestimating the power and the spirit of free men. Yay, zap, So it's all, this is what and this chap here is writing all about his thoughts as he's going through it. Because of course, he wanted to be a writer. Like so many characters. Funnily enough, a writer is writing this comic. So the main person in it wants to be a writer. So the other thing, and the reason they're called Morituri, like dying, moribund, is if it's successful and you get this and turn into a superhero, the most you've got to live is a year. And that doesn't mean you're going to live a year, that means you could die tomorrow, next week, at some point. The longest you've got is a year. So,
do they have a choice to become superheroes?
Or they all volunteer.
Okay.
Everybody that does it is volunteered.
So they have the same powers,
and they thought, let's join. Let's do it. We need to fight the Horde. They want to do their bit. Does that answer your question? I saw that, did you? So as this is we'll get to know them and we get to meet them and what have you. And What was interesting, but this is a Marvel comic, and then it kind of roughly runs in real time.
Right.
The comic as well. So you're sort of loving it a bit with them, and you're getting to know the characters. And there are bits where there's stories going on, and then the person just kind of explodes, and they're out. And that's so the characters die, and you do get to a point in the series where
because this stuff's taking them.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. See, this is back to the comic again, and they're having big speeches and blah blah. Yes, we Earth. They get killed screaming Earth. The end. Now, of course, as you're reading it, it's more traumatic. The reality of it. So that, and then back to the story on the next page, and here it's actual footage now of the Rio Black Watch and how they really died. And the guy's like talking, and he starts having like a fit here, and he's like, "What's wrong?" No, really, and he kind of just this is how you go. That was pretty scary. If you enjoyed your Alvin and the Chipmunks, that was good. But then on the next page, can you hear me, Bruce? Please help end transmission. Yeah, so they've took them in and they've said, "Okay, folks, this is what happened. This is what now that you've and he's shocked. Right." So then they're all getting to know.
So they're saying like, now that you've signed up, this is what happens to you.
Yeah, here's a wee show of what happened. And there's her powers manifesting on the door. She's kind of blasted the door. So let's see. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, and this one they kind of get told not to. I think they attack somewhere. It's like someone comes over and they're like, we want to go and fight, and they're like, well, you're not ready, so they do the usual thing, they break away and steal a ship and go and all that, and then they get caught right in the middle of he's in the middle of it, and it's all like action, but it's terrible, it goes badly and all that. And the one thing is they've got this commander, I forget her name, but she's the commander, and she's now got the process, so she's in it.
Right.
And she gets to know them and has to watch them all die and all that. And then there's issues of this later on where, depending on how many die at a given point, there's a couple of issues where it's the last of the old lot, and all the new ones come in, and they're all
like the next generation. So that's how, in theory, the comic would keep going.
Well, that's how it did go, yeah. But I mean,
bit like
there was
Doctor
a
Who.
point when you got into it where you were reading it, and there was nobody left from the first issue. It was all the new people now. And then, it was really fascinating. I remember thinking that was what was going to be so interesting about this comic. How could they keep this going with new characters all the time? And there he is, like, you can't get to sleep, but all the things that he's... Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah, so that's cool. Have a look at that.
Yeah.
I just brought a few of these along. It ran for about 30 issues. And then so, good series. If you feel like reading an interesting science fiction superhero thing.
Is around the time of Secret Wars.
Secret Wars!
86, yeah. A year or two after it. That used to always be you used to have Spider-Man there, eh?
Yeah.
This was reprinted in Marvel UK. Spider-Man and Zoid's comic at the time.
I've got. I used to have some there. I
I think
probably
that's
still
maybe
have.
where I first read it, and then they stopped running it. I think somebody looked and went, look what happens in this, in the editorial office, because it just suddenly stopped. And I thought, I was well into that. So then I went and found the issues.
Yeah.
But still a good comic to read. I would recommend it to somebody that wants a science. If you like science fiction,
It's good. It looks great. Right, Mike.
Try to think else. If there's anything else to say
See
about it.
this second bad boy.
What's your
Right,
number 2?
Well, it's another Marvel jobby. Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, this is fitting for this time. This goes back to when Marvel could do these big epics, because you remember when I brought in the Secret Wars 2 and we were all pretty disappointed by their handling of it. The main story was dodgily drawn, seeing as some of the characters were reused again and again. And then there were so many references to things that had happened in other comics, but too many for most normal mortals to actually be able to collect. So this is one of the stories that it did have a build-up. It's sort of a sequel to a previous big event that Marvel had in the 70s. And this is, I believe, the 80s.
I think I know what you're going to pull out, but okay.
Yes, because we're going to encounter this in a couple movies' time, or one movie's time.
I knew he was going to bring out. The more he's going on about it, I'm saying it's going to be Infinity Gauntlet.
This is the Infinity Gauntlet as is intended. Now, when I watched Infinity Wars 1, I thought Thanos wasn't really portrayed the way he should be portrayed. This is how he should be shown. Like, insane, grinning. You can hardly see his eyes. There's hardly any actual shot of his eyes here. It's always dark.
Well, who's
and whenever there's a sort of hint of a pupil, it's just a star in his eyes. Pencilers, George Perez, and Ron Lim. And the writer was Jim Starlin.
Yeah, of course it was.
And here is the list of major superheroes who were wiped out when Thanos casually gets rid of them all. But in the film, it's like a hard decision for him. It's like, oh no, I really have to think hard. Here, Thanos lives up to the idea of being the prime villain. He, let's see if I can get the page.
He's only conflicted in the film on one time.
Well, he doesn't do it as well as here. Here, look at his grin. He casually just goes like that. Even Mephisto is like, he's really going to do it. And he does. And of course, in the meantime, Thanos is trying to get the love of Lady Death. And she doesn't seem to really approach him. She doesn't even speak to him. So he creates himself a woman version of Thanos to love. And she actually manages to kill Iron Man and Spider-Man without breaking a sweat. This is not the real Thor. This is the second one, Thunderstrike. The real Thor is currently at this point in a Ragnarok. So another man who is worthy of holding the hammer is taking his place. Of course, Adam Warlock recognises him as not being the real Thor, but the others seem to think he is. Thanos takes on the rest of the universe.
To be fair.
There's Nebula, as she should be drawn.
Right.
Thanos has basically beaten the entire Marvel universe. He's beaten all the Elder Gods. Adam Warlock, after Thanos loses the gauntlet, Nebula gets it.
He's not got his. I'm sorry.
Because it's in.
Yeah, it's one of the Infinity Gems. It's in the gauntlet.
Did we get this right? I'm sorry, but imagine you read Warlock and it finished about 1976, and they've not read anything since. Now, where's his? I'll ignore the fact why is he alive, and I'll go to where's his soul?
Adam Warlock is actually dead.
He gives it up himself, though, doesn't he?
No, he's actually dead in this.
He was
Until
addicted to it.
they manage to get these bodies and they're transforming into Pip, Gamora, and then you see the big cocoon.
Oh, right.
Adam Warlock hatches from there, but when he hatches, he's not got his gem on his forehead.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
fair enough.
and in case you're wondering, the Elder Gods like Odin and Zeus, when Thanos gets the gauntlet, he basically blocks them out. So they're stuck in the likes of Asgard. They can't get over to sort things out. So he's basically beaten them. He's beaten like Celestials and Chaos and all these other Guardians. But then
Warlock looks good though, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, but you see, the thing is, Thanos loses the gauntlet to Nebula. Nebula goes completely insane. They manage to get Thanos, so now they've got to work with Thanos. And Adam Warlock kind of hits the nail on the head with Thanos. He's like, you beat everyone in the universe. You could do anything you want. How did we manage to overpower you? And he's like, I know why. Because deep down, you actually want to get beaten. And Thanos sort of comes to that revelation, and it's kind of affected him. He's like, no, it was a mistake. Even gods, I didn't. And then he changed his mind, like, I will aid you to help. Well, that's the best version of Thanos I can think of.
I think it's good showcase of art. I don't really know the story though.
Well, the story is worth reading, but it's not going to be as in depth as some of the previous books that I've seen here.
You're just a Thanos fan, really.
I'm a bit of a villain fan, yeah.
Do you know what it is? I like the ending that they gave for Thanos in the 70s. It was very well done.
Yeah.
When he dies, he's frozen and
Yeah.
he stood there like that.
So I've got that one as well. I think I brought that in.
I
here,
just
but-
thought, wow, look at that, that's a great ending. So I think I'm almost like, even if this is good, I'm like, no, I don't want any of this.
You see
I
him
want to
resurrected
stand there
in
for
there.
all eternity.
But I have Thanos, the one where he's resurrected and he goes on the quest for the gems. I've read that.
I'm too biased against it, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I'm not caring if it's good.
There was actually a tender moment between the Hulk and Wolverine at the start
I
of that.
saw that. They were having a chat.
Yeah, they're having a smoke and a chat.
He says, we're both monsters.
Yeah. They seem to understand each other a bit better, and then Adam Warlock
Jim
joins in.
Starlin likes the Hulk as well. He writes a pretty good Hulk.
That's Hulk with Banner's brain in there.
Yes.
Or Banner's mind.
I knew that from the costume he's got on.
Yeah. Nothing's ripped and
'Cause I was
speaks
reading the
perfect
Hulk,
English.
You know, past having given up on all of it, I was still reading the Hulk, so I knew he had this costume on. I don't like Warlock's costume even, you know, with these red suspenders and the stockings he's got on.
I always liked his cape, but I don't like the rest of it now.
Where's his soldier? I know you've explained it already, but every picture I'm looking at, I'm like, what?
He lost it, and when he was resurrected, he needed to get it back. But in the end of this,
See, but I'm
it's,
too biased, I don't even care. I'm saying, where is it? And you're being kind
he
of
has it.
explaining
He's on his
I'm not
gauntlet.
listening. You know, it's
Soul Gem gone. Warlock dead. Warlock come back. Soul Gem on
you know,
gauntlet.
I was so enthralled with the soul gem, the vampire soul gem that he was stuck with, and then he realised he was addicted to it and all that. Just that whole 70s story, if you've read it, and if you read it when you were 6 or 7, my God, it's just burned into my head how great it
Part
is.
of a Say No to Drugs campaign, I think.
But now they turn around and they say, oh, that soul gem, that was only 1 of 6 or something. And he wants it for his glove, and I'm like, just take that story away. I don't want to know about that. Now, I know that people love this comic because I've heard so many people that have read it that love it. I never even tried it. Sorry. I apologise.
What a bastard!
I'm not going to read it in case I like it. And I'll be betraying myself.
It's one of Mike's big two.
The thing is, it's Jim Starlin that's written it, so, you know, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It will be good, because he wrote this stuff. So, and there's Gamora, the most dangerous woman in the galaxy.
That's her resurrected again.
Oh my God. She's amazing, this shit, with the green costume on her. And it's the way they're all terrified of her. It's brilliant. I'm repeating myself, but it's so good.
No.
That introductory page of her, my God. The most dangerous woman in the galaxy.
Gamora versus Barda. Who would win?
I don't know, but that would be a film to watch.
That would be. Right, gents.
Is it
Nice
the second
second one.
your number 2?
My second one is Logical Comics.
Ah, yes.
An epic search for truth. Now, my main reason that I suggest this to folks is if they're not looking for something that involves, I would say anything to do, like, if you're looking for something that's so out of what people think is comics. So when people think of comics, they think of superheroes and everything like that. When you read somebody who's not the initiated, but when you mention that to somebody, that they're looking for something that's completely left field, but something that's still, like, all of my friend Dahmer is all like black and white, and you know, like, sometimes the black and white thing can be a bit daunting for some folks, and they kind of look at it and go, no, yeah, okay, you know, they still see it as like, well, maybe that's a wee bit underground or whatever. That's something. But this is all full colour, and it's just a story of somebody's life told from their perspective, but also with a wee bit of something else going on in there because the creators are involved in telling the story. So there's kind of like 3 different story threads weave throughout it, but very easily told. All the narratives from start to finish, and there's no sort of big deviations or anything. And it's an interesting story. It's a really good story about somebody who actually lived and going through their life. It's very colourful. It's very vibrant. It's done very sort of in this cartoony kind of way, but it's still very realistic and whatnot. They do all these things in Greece, I think, is where they are. I think they're all Greek and French artists and writers and everything anyway. It's just, there's not really, there's a lot to it, but there's not at the same point. It's the logician Bertrand Russell, him going to this talk when there was all sorts of protests and everything going on, and they're all having this big conversation, and there's people kind of trying to dispute his points and whatnot, and he kind of just takes them back and says, look, I'm just going to tell you where my life started, and this is how it happened, and blah 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 blah, and how he's ended up where he is now. But then you get this sort of interruption, a kind of break in between it, where they're then disputing the next parts of the story, and no, you can't really include this bit because that shouldn't be there. You should really deviate to this bit of his life instead, and all that kind of stuff. So you get a break from the story. You're not just constantly sitting really grueling through this guy's life. It then eventually gets to that point where the artists kind of pop in and say like, right, this is the next bit, get this bit up on the board, blah 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 blah. And it's good. It's really intriguing to go through a story that way from kind of two separate people telling you. So it's like them telling you, him telling other people, But I always point folks to this if they're just looking for something that is a complete deviation from that. That is a good story of something that happened. This is a good story of somebody's life and a good example of what comics are. It works with panel structure. It works by structuring all your narrative and everything, and all your speech bubbles and everything to show you. This is how we frame this part of the story. This is that you don't have to have a description of everything because it's in the panel. You can just have the speech and whatnot, and you can have his narration over the top of it with these different coloured boxes and whatnot. It's a very good example of how a comic should be. All whilst they're kind of telling you this is how a comic should be. So it's a nice example to show people, and show people who don't really know what they are. Something a bit different. When somebody says the words, so it isn't all about superheroes, you can straight away say, no, check this out. And it's such a breeze to get through. I think we spoke about it before, that you had read it before, and it was dead easy to get through, but it's not small by any stretch of the imagination. It does take up some time to get through it, but it's just so easy to get through it.
The artwork's really good, and it's not the first time I've seen this book. I think I might have seen this here before.
Yes, I think we did one on like biographies or something like that, or something along those lines. That is my number 2 pick.
I did read that about whenever it was, it came out 8 years ago or something. I do remember what you're talking about with it kind of explaining. They do sit and discuss how they're going to do the comics, and I think at the start they even say, why are we going to do this as a comic?
Yeah.
And I do remember being a little bit put off by that, because I just assume everything should be a comic,
Yeah.
I'm too into it already. But I just looked past it and kept reading, and it's well done. I remember reading it and enjoying it a lot. That bit of it, I do remember thinking, this is for people that are looking at this going, why is this a comic?
Yeah.
And so they explained it. And it's true what you say, it goes throughout the book that they are explaining things as
Like
they
the
go.
process, yeah.
So it is probably a good one for people that are, comics curious or
Trying to find out what more the medium could offer them
Yeah.
than just superheroes.
Yeah, it was good. I remember enjoying it.
I don't like saying when I say that sentence as well. I don't like saying that because that's a given that it's more than just superheroes.
Oh, of course.
Or supervillains.
You know, there's thousands of comics out there.
Yeah.
So it's a total given. But yeah, it's strange because it starts off with one of them actually talking to the reader, and then he goes, and none of the rest of them know I'm doing this, so I'll talk to you in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of veers off and goes back, kind of thing. It's strange, but it's good. It's effective.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 2.
I do remember it got mainstream, coverage. I remember it was reviewed and it was kind of thing that the Guardian people would like or whatever. You know, the topic and the person it's about is of note.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that shit happens.
And your point about the colour is correct as well. Even if they don't know that black and white is underground, I think people think colour is value.
Yes.
So it's like if someone's black and white, it's only black and white because they didn't even colour it. They couldn't be bothered to spend the money on it, colouring it.
Yeah, I don't get what it is about black and white. It really puts people off.
Yeah.
It puts people off with films as well, and I always sit like, why?
Yeah.
It's still people.
It's like someone's missing.
Yeah.
It's not a choice. Someone's not being put in.
I
Like,
can imagine the Raging Bull being in colour.
No.
Yeah, but it's that thing though. Like, what does colour add to a film? Unless it's something that specifically has to have colour to it. What does it?
I think it probably just brings it a bit closer to looking at the world. You know,
Yeah.
it's in colour. It brings it a bit. It's less of a barrier.
Maybe.
Black and white's kind of stylised. You know,
Yeah.
obviously stylised.
But it is that thing of like it is telling you the story of somebody's life. But where those two are similar in that respect,
Yeah.
they completely deviate because that one is like somebody telling you from like almost like the outside perspective, whereas this is somebody telling you their life, but from somebody else telling you what they said to a bunch of people. You know.
There were a lot of interesting comics, graphic novels for the book market in the UK around about this time.
Yes.
I don't know is that still happening? It probably is.
Occasionally, Tom Gold is a big example of that.
There was a real load of comics that were coming up that were for bookshops. I remember feeling that.
Mouse was making a big
Well,
thing of that time.
yeah, that had been hanging around forever though.
But
That's
that was,
another
yeah,
one
but
that
that
made
kind
me
of
feel-
that made a reinsurgence at
Yeah.
that point.
It did because for no reason whatsoever. I remember you always got Mouse 1 and Mouse 2. And for some reason they did the complete Mouse.
Yeah.
It was like some year, 2008, 2009, suddenly they went, hey, let's do the complete Mouse.
But they've
And
done
that
that.
came out and sold like anything again.
They've done that
Oh,
with
interesting.
Persepolis as well.
Yeah.
That's another one that came as 1 and 2, and then they just
Yes.
all of a sudden one day were like, oh, you know, this is good with the bookie lot. So let's
Yeah.
make this one big book and we can sell it in like HMV and FOP and everything.
Yeah.
You now get that in FOP. We were in there in FOP,
Yeah.
and it's in 2 for a $5 deal.
Uh-huh.
You know, just sitting there, Persepolis. And yet at the time, Persepolis was like this big deal.
Yes.
Now it's like bargain bin, you know, or just pick it up wherever. And
Well,
yet,
yeah, it's maybe had its run.
it's probably like this.
It looks like
You could end
a,
up going and fought one day and this will be sitting on the shelf like
Yeah.
£5, pick it
Probably
up.
has been, yeah.
And yet I picked this up from 1899 in Waterspace, you know what I mean?
it looks like a paperback novel most of the time.
Yeah.
The way it's designed and the
Yeah,
size.
yeah.
Especially that Persepolis. They brought that out.
That's the one I'm meaning.
Yeah, the wee paperback book.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've got the film on DVD,
I was
but
going to say it probably helped that it ended up being made into an animated film as well.
that reminds me, I saw Breadwinner at the cinema the other day. It's kind of on
Oh yeah.
sort of similar themes, except that one was done in colour.
Did you go?
DCA.
Yeah, to see it.
It's definitely not a feel-good film because a lot of things
No.
that happen there actually do happen in real life.
Sorry, I can hurry up, boys, but I'm gonna say
Honourable mentions.
honourable mentions, yeah, and then we'll get
Oh, honourable mentions.
Yes.
Who Killed Selena Kyle?
Okay.
Okay.
Would that be your honourable
My
mention?
honourable mention, because I did actually think of that before I came over.
Cool.
Because that is a good story. I might bring it in some other time. Let you have a wee look at that.
Well,
If we have a gangster version.
thinking of a comic that people could relate to, that even if they're not interested in comics.
Say Hulk,
Right.
say Hulk, say Hulk.
Well, the Hulk goes without saying, that's the best comic of all time. Kill me! I just lost. Halfway between this, somebody mentioned Jack Kirby. Maybe it was me, and I sort of lost my mind. And the conversation crashed, and everybody lost it. 'Cause Jack Kirby. No, I'm thinking of Carol Tyler, The Job Thing, and it's all about her doing lots of awful jobs.
Alright.
And I thought, we've all done that. That's a great comic.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah,
What's it called, sir?
The Job Thing.
The Job Thing.
She's just done a new one, and it's all about when she was a kid and she was loving the Beatles. She's American, so like them coming in and taking over that world, Can't remember what it's called. Something with the Beatles.
It was probably called something
It's
like
called,
Beatles.
I love the Beatles. Yes. No. So that's my honourable mention.
I'll check that out. Mine, I brought with me, obviously, is...
Oh! Here we go! Man!
Scott McCloud, the sculptor.
Yeah.
I suggest that everybody read this. Right away, I've said it. Read it.
Read it.
Nothing else, no. Scott McCloud, the sculptor. I've said this before, I've spoken about it before ad nauseum, so I'm not going to go on about it forever. But the story has so many elements to it, the work. There's such an emotional tale behind it. It's not going to be a laugh a minute. There is quite a heartfelt story behind it, quite sombre, quite sad in places. There is a slight non-realistic vibe to it, but the character work, McLeod's drawings are just absolutely fantastic. There's a slight kind of Japanesey kind of vibe about it as well, but his artwork is great. He knows how to structure a comic. He wrote Understanding Comics. He knows how to work a comic. He knows the ins and outs. It's just really, really well done. It's kind of this. It's not black and white. It's kind of blue and white-ish.
It's a tricolour.
Yeah, it's but there's just so much going on in it. But it's one of the very first books that I have read and sobbed like a baby when I was reading it. And it's also one of the first ones that I remember starting reading, and I could not put it down. I went to put it down. I got to like the third act. I went, right, I really need to go to bed. And I put it down, and then went, no, I can't. And I picked it up and I continued going. And I'm glad I did, because that's when it came, and I sat there and I fucking bawled my eyes out. I like the cover, but there's something about the cover that's a bit computery. It kind of puts me off sometimes, but don't let it put you off. Everything about this is great, but I would love to see Scott McCloud do more.
Well, I'm sure he
Especially
spent about 9 years on
He
it.
fucking did.
Yeah.
I think he did. But it's just so good, and it's not, it's not small. It's worth your money. It says $18.99. I don't think I paid $18.99. I think I got it fairly cheaper than that. I think I got it at some deal or something. But yeah, it's a biggie. It's a good one. It's a big, massive coffee table bad boy, and I will go to my grave with this.
That's
I
like
love this.
like Craig Thompson's Habibi, when you'd be like, yeah, I'll read one chapter before I go to sleep. I'm very tired, and the chapter is 132 pages.
Yeah, it's
Similar size.
yeah, absolutely adore it. Cannot say a bad word about it. I know it's not massively looked on well in the comics world. I think a lot of comics people have problems with it.
Yeah.
that's one of them that did really well with book crawl, and I think
Yes.
that's why. Is because when it came out, it was like instantaneous, a hit, you know, and all these people went mad, and a lot of comics folk went, fuck off. It's not, you know, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love it.
No, it's just if you love it. I mean,
Yeah.
what's that good about it?
Absolutely love it. I didn't know any of that going into it though. I found all that out after.
So did you?
Unreal.
I remember one of the criticisms of it was something like you read it and you've got the feeling like this is like somebody that's read Scott McCloud's book on how to make comics and then they've made this.
I never got that feeling.
No, that's more like somebody that knows too much.
Yeah. I
Thanks
got
for calling you up for that.
Hey!
I got the fact that he's maybe the guy that wrote it,
Yeah.
but just from the feeling that I was going through it going, I really know what they're doing. Like, that was it, you know. It wasn't like, oh, this guy's read this book. It was, you know.
It's a feeling somebody had reading it.
Yeah.
Maybe like understanding comics and making comics and giving them too much of an insight into what McCloud thinks about when he's doing comics.
That's the thing, if you're going in with too much of a precedent on it as well, you're going to end up having that bias behind it, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't go in with enough of that. I had read understanding comics, and I'd read a lot of comics before that as well, but they're just, I don't know, I maybe had just enough naivety
Yeah.
that...
Do you know, so much,
Oh.
this is in all the podcasts I read, criticism, so much of the time they're reacting to their own expectation of what it was, and that's what the review is. I mean, if you get a really good reviewer, they're not doing that, but it's few and far between.
there's really few and far between.
If you think someone's great and you watch it and go, it's alright, but, you know, the first bit's in there. If you were thinking this is going to be crap, and then you go, oh, that was pretty good actually, it's like, well, they're both infected by what you thought at the start. And what you thought at the start is infected by what other people have been saying.
Yeah.
And how much attention you've paid to that. Once I decide, right, I want to see that, you know, you get wee snippets of things, and once I feel myself go, yeah, I'm interested in that. That's it. At that point, I'm cutting it off. And I don't want to know any more. I want to know nothing else. It's piqued my interest. I'm going,
Yeah. Yeah, I get you on that.
yeah. And I think maybe like Watchmen comes under that, you know. That's the greatest. People say it's the greatest of all time now. And you're like, well, that's hard to live up to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
Yeah, there's some stuff you really have to go in not knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good, interesting choices, guys.
Yeah, thank you for bringing them along.
And
Good honourable mention. I'm gonna look at this little joke.
Oh, that's a great...
that's more like a subtitle of the week. Thank you.
To send us any comments or questions, or just to say hello, you can reach us by email at thatcomicsmell@gmail.com. We're also available on Instagram and Twitter at thatcomicsmell. Share the podcast with your friends and followers. We're available on YouTube, Soundcloud and iTunes. And don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Our music is by Chart Smasher, aka John Adam. You can find John on Twitter at JohnEdam, and you can buy the track Dial Up on Bandcamp.